Once upon a time, Chris called Dan and said, "I'm having an idea." When Dan got over his initial shock and horror, he agreed to hear Chris out. Suddenly, a podcast was born, and somehow I was suckered into recording the intro to give them a little bit of legitimacy. And so, here we are. Welcome to the Dan and Chris Save the World podcast.
The Dan and Chris podcast has been fortified with 6 essential vitamins and minerals. Please use only as directed.
Be careful operating heavy machinery while listening to this podcast. If you are pregnant or may become pregnant, please consult a physician before listening to this podcast.
No animals were harmed in the creation of this podcast. For best results, open your mind and smile while listening. Continued use of this podcast has been known to cause hilarity in certain individuals.
Proceed at your own risk. Start recording, and we just
start recording. See, that's the nice thing about this podcast. There's no pre-show. There's no planning. There's no discussing of hey, what should we be talking about? You just hit record,
and then we just see what happens.
And we see what happens. And we're out of practice. It's been a while.
It's been a few months. When's the last time we did it?
I think we did it in August.
August, yes.
So, and now it's November.
August 13th was we last released it, and now it's November 13th. It's been 3 months.
Wow.
So, yeah.
We're a little out of practice at just talking to each other, apparently.
Who are you? How do I do this? What do I say?
You're doing fine already. I mean, we're 42 seconds in, and
42. It was a perfect
we haven't
podcast.
stopped talking, and we haven't stopped talking yet. So, it's just weird. It's weird to be doing this again, but in a good way.
It is. We shouldn't have taken as long of a break, but there's things going on.
Well, we had that whole that small event in September we had to kind of get behind.
I had a little surgery at the beginning of November.
You had a little surgery thing there, and honestly, I think I was just burned out of everything.
October, we were just like, what happened to October? I don't know.
Yeah, October went that way.
Well, there was a very, it was a very good convention, but it was definitely, there was a lot of extra outside of the convention stress that we never had before.
Yeah, unfortunately, you guys have gotten blessed with my curse. I've never been able to enjoy the days after a convention. There's always been something that has just ruined the mood after the convention. The very first one, when we had our first show in 16, we had this whole weekend and it was stressful, but my God, we pulled it off and it was great. And we had the show and we were getting this positive reaction. The vendors loved it. The guests loved it. Even the VIPs were like, you guys did a great job. They couldn't believe it was our first show ever. We had this great time. And so I got home on this just emotional high. And within literally an hour, my ex-wife was on my ass about pretty much everything and making my day miserable. And I'm like, I couldn't even just celebrate the fact that I just pulled this thing off, and that something like that happened after every show. We had the fourth show in 19 and I got home and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to rest up after the fourth show. And we did a great job. And the girl I was seeing broke up with me 3 days later. Yeah. And I'm like, come on. And so I remember lamenting to Tanya and I'm like, I'm like, I want to have convention weekend, but I hate the days after convention weekend. And she's like, you'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I appreciate her positivity. But as soon as I got done, everything else exploded. And now it was affecting all of you guys. I'm like, my curse has spread to the rest of the board. I feel horrible.
Well, because it started before the convention.
Yeah, I know.
We were hoping that we got a handle on it before. And then it just, during the weekend itself, it was nothing.
These people were just bent on being miserable.
Oh my God!
These people were absolutely bent on being miserable. I can't imagine going through life that toxically. I
don't. I mean, that's a symptom of our country these days. Is people want to be miserable apparently,
and they just don't care who they drag into to validate the misery that they want to feel.
Validate themselves. They
got to validate themselves.
Yeah.
And the lies, just the lies. It was insane. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
And we couldn't, and it wasn't our job to separate truth from lies. And we it was just, but hopefully that's behind us.
I doubt it. There's always going to be some sort of touch to that. I guarantee that the person who spearheaded everything, they will find somebody else to be pissed at and they will pull the same nonsense and demand the same things, and it's going to be up to us to be like, look, here's the line, you're done. No, we're not doing this a second time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
that was just.
And we kind of, I mean, you were saying that, you know, this, you're next kind of thing, because you're harassing, yeah. So anyways, it was, but the convention itself was great.
I am so pleased with how it came together. I mean, I was always the most reticent about using Total Sports
Mm-hmm.
Experience, you know, the venue.
Yep.
And I just didn't feel like it had the vibe that we were looking for. But we make the vibe, you know, it's all on us, and people always see that. And then when folks were talking about the wide open spaces and using the fields and how the you know, the different flooring felt, you know, their legs weren't as tired because they were on the turf rather than on concrete or carpeting, regular carpeting, you know, and so the positive vibes came back, and everybody seemed to be really having a good time. Yeah. And you know, and as always, they acknowledge, and I love how people are acknowledging the fact that yes, we made mistakes, but they also love the fact that we own that, and we are always looking to do something different in the future.
Right. We're only human. We can't know everything. I mean, we from day one, we haven't known everything. We haven't known much of anything, apparently.
You have done a great job of running on complete instinct and luck.
But we go. You know, it's the whole point of a fan-led convention. What do we as fans want to see? And that's, you know, it's from day one. That's how we've gone through this thing. And yes, there were problems with this year, as we have to work on for next year. And the biggest problem, of course, you know, being the panel area.
Yeah.
Which we have some ideas, and we have to see what's practical, we kind of can't do. You know, fire marshal, what the fire marshal will allow. You know, if we want to try to do tents inside, if the, you know, what fire marshal rules are around that. You know, but I mean, overall, I mean, the space was incredible. We have room to grow.
Yeah, we have room to grow. And more to the point, I mean, we enjoyed our liaison at the convention center. Tim Newton was a fantastic human being, still is. Yep. Although he's not associated with the convention center anymore, but just a great guy. I wasn't really aware who our liaison with the Blue Cross Arena was. And I think that kind of speaks to my comment about that particular staff. The TSE staff, every single one of those people, the young kids right up to the folks who were in charge, they were so accommodating and so understanding and so into the idea. Like at one point I'm like, hey, what if we did this? And they're like, yeah, we can make that happen. That'd be awesome. Yeah. You know, their enthusiasm, and they're just so into it. And that made the connection to the venue so much easier. Yeah. You know, I just enjoyed hanging out.
Blue Cross Arena, it felt like we were just sort of another event type of thing. They weren't, you know, just, okay, you know, and then, you know, give us your money afterwards, you know, make sure, you know, and just felt like we weren't, and then after we're gone, you know, we're gone type.
And we can charge you more next year, right? No.
You know, so it didn't, I mean, they were very helpful during the weekend, you know, when they weren't as into it as, you know, Tim Newton made the convention weekend at the convention center great.
Yes,
you know,
he
I
did.
mean, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if we would have succeeded as well as we did at the convention center.
I agree.
He was there on the ball for everything. The Blue Cross Arena, they had a lot of staff, which is probably why they charge us so much. And they were responsive, but they weren't in it, kind of thing. They weren't, you know, they were there, but they weren't there. You know what I mean? They were there. They were helpful, but they weren't excited about it, type of thing that we felt. You know, it was just more of just another event that comes and goes. But we got it back with the TSE, with the staff there, with the whole staff were, you know, on board with us and everything, and they were excited that we were there. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely a different feel. Blue Cross wasn't the right place for us anyways. I mean,
it really wasn't.
No, I mean, the layout was horrible for a convention like ours, you know. So, I mean, the only good thing about it is if people wanted to sit, there's plenty of seats.
You know, that was great. In our field office, how it was like a box, like above the rink, that kind of gave us a really nice view on things. That was cool. But we kind of captured
TSE,
we captured that with the whole upper level platform. So that was nice.
That was great at TSE, because we didn't have the glass separating us, so we were really a part of it, and we can see everything from up there versus Blue Cross can only see the arena part. You know, you couldn't see what's going on in the hallways or down below, the hidden area down below and everything. And, you know, we could be up on, you know, up in our office at Blue Cross and TSE there. We could see what's going on the stage. You know, we could watch the stage.
Yeah.
we could see.
Yeah.
I could overlook the panel room. She was going. We could see it all. It was great.
Hmm.
I loved that part. I mean, the only problems with with the panel area, and the biggest problem to me was the panel areas. For TSE. So
Okay.
because you were in the panels, and there were too much cross noise and stuff like that, and the announcements and things like that. So yeah, looking forward to improving stuff for next year.
Always. I mean, then and like I said, people are just used to the fact that we're always trying to check ourselves and recognize things that we've done and things that we want to do and things that worked
Mhm.
and things we're going to do again and do better. So we're growing. We're doing the thing that
Yes.
we've always been wanting. We kept digging in, doing the work.
Mhm.
And they always say 3 to 5 years to have a successful business. And we had the
Mhm.
pandemic throw a monkey wrench a little bit in the works, but we got through it.
Yeah, our 5th year was excellent. Our best year.
We blew
What
our
what
attendance record out of the water by like almost 1,000 or more than 1,000, I think.
it was
Because
around.
we went from 1,700 to 2,800, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Our number total people there was about 3,300.
Oh wow. Okay. See. Okay. I got the
So,
initial estimates,
there's
but I didn't.
different. Yeah, I can show you the numbers, but our total people were 3,300 for the weekend. So
That's amazing.
one of the things that I know that I loved Sunday, because I went outside for lunch by the food trucks, and I was just watching all the cosplayers out in the field, just
Yes.
hanging out in the field doing their thing. And I was like, okay, this is why I loved having the field. And we're lucky we had a beautiful weekend. It wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold. It was sunny.
Mm-hmm.
So they could, they were out wandering in the fields, and there were groups of them out in the fields doing their thing, which, I loved seeing that. That was great. I mean, that was just, yeah.
I didn't get to get outside much. I was always running between panel areas and then the vendor floor, and then I would go up to the loft and just kind of hang out for a moment to catch my breath, and then back down to the panel areas and so on and so forth. So
yeah,
rinse and repeat.
Yeah, it's amazing how much us as showrunners can miss.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
if for all you people out there who think, well, we must, see everything going on, we miss a lot because
Yeah,
we're
we do.
focused on, each one of us are focused on certain areas.
And that's why it's so good that there's so many of us on the board, because then we can each keep an eye on something, so nothing really, in the overall, very little gets missed, because one of us is usually going to pick up on it.
Right.
Can you imagine running an entire show by yourself?
I can't imagine that. I mean, you would miss so much, and you would be so stressed, and you would piss so many people off.
Yeah. Wait a minute. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Anyways,
moving on. Was that some veiled shade? Moving on.
But that was great being in September too. I love it. It was
Yeah.
I mean, we lucked out. September is a question as far as the weather, but I think end of September, the end of September is fairly safe in the Rochester area. But
Oh, yeah.
the chance of snow is pretty low.
But never zero.
Never zero. Here, no, never zero.
Even in July, the chance of snow in Rochester is never zero.
Never zero.
So,
but yeah, we're looking forward to next year. We have the dates booked. We're going to do an official announcement soon. we have to meet as a board, but by the time we release this, we'll have met as the board, and I don't know.
Yeah, because we release on Fridays, right?
We can release whatever day we want right now because there's no monkey business on Wednesday. So
yeah, I mean to talk about that too. I feel bad about that because I really do I do miss working with Billy and Tanya.
Yeah, we got to figure out our next step with monkey business. But we'll do on Friday because it's our normal. I don't know when James is releasing. I gotta look at his schedule.
He usually releases on Thursday.
But he has this. Him and Pemmy are still doing it on Friday, right?
Oh, that's right. They do their other show on Fridays.
I got to see which Friday they're on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, when our listeners are listening to this, you'll know when we have released this. We're trying to figure this out still, but
yeah. On Sunday we were trying to figure it out. On Friday we'll have figured it out. I guess is the best way to describe it.
When's the last time they released? Well, let me see. I'm looking. They released on October 29th. So that was.
It was a Friday.
So this would be, they would release this Friday again. So they would release on the 12th. Maybe we'll release on Wednesday this week. Yeah, why not? What the heck?
Why not?
Okay. Just not to conflict with theirs.
Yeah.
They're up to episode 16. They passed us in episodes. This
What
is
are they up to?
they're up
Episode
to 16.
16.
Yes.
Very nice.
So
Good for them. They're doing some good work over there.
Yeah, and it was nice meeting Pemmy there over the big convention there. So,
nice guy.
Mhm.
Nice guy.
Definitely.
I liked him.
Yeah. So, anyways, so that's that.
So it was nice talking to you. I'll catch you later. No.
Yeah. 14 minutes, we're done. Why does it say an hour and 14 minutes? Does yours say
Doesn't
an hour?
for me.
Mine says like an hour and 14 minutes.
Is your timer on daylight savings still?
Maybe I don't know.
You haven't fallen back that hour yet?
I'm like, just noticed, like, wait a second, how did it get to be an hour already? Boy, Chris, we talked a lot.
I know, my God. Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, jeez. So what else is new?
Not much, really. I mean, I've been trying to save a couple bucks here and there, so I've been able to do some work on my house, make some forward progress on some projects that I've been slacking off on.
Mm-hmm.
I got to start getting the house ready for the cold weather.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have that sleeping porch off of my room, right? And it's all enclosed with storm windows, but they're storm windows.
The storm windows are not
So
there.
they don't really keep the heat very well. So I'm going to layer some plastic up because I really want to try and keep that open this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my house is not a big house. It's a 1,300 square foot house, and it's got 4 bedrooms. So that means the bedrooms are really small.
Not very big, yeah.
Yeah, they're all like 10 by 10 rooms, and I feel bad about that because my daughter has been living with her boyfriend in her room, and you know, I know that they're struggling with the space. I try to open up other parts of the house so that they can use it, but it's like they just their stuff is overflowing into the hallway, and it's I can't blame them for that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, this will give me the 4th winter I've lived in this house. You know, it's because I had the winter of 18, 19, 20, so winter 21. So this will be the 4th winter I've lived in this house. And usually by like late January, early February, I start getting claustrophobic in my own room, right? Because I have to close the door between my room and the sleeping porch on a regular basis, you know, to keep that chill out. I took the door off its hinges at the beginning of the spring this year. And my dressers are out there, so I feel like my room's a little more space to it because it doesn't have as much furniture in it. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to I don't want to
everything back in and cram it out into your room.
I don't want to have to do that. So I'm going to put some plastic up. I'm going to get a space heater. You know, I have a really powerful infrared space heater, and now it's too much for that, for that room. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put that up in the attic for gaming nights. And just see if it works. And if it doesn't, if by like mid-December I'm like, nope, it's too freaking cold in here, then I'll go into bunker protocol. Dun, dun.
Are the walls insulated in there?
The walls of the porch and the ceiling are insulated, but they're knee wall. You know, the storm windows are massive. They're not like normal sized windows. They're all, I don't know, they're all like what, 3 by 4. You know, something like that. They're banks of windows, so it lets a lot of light in, which is great. When the sun comes in, it gets cozy in there, but the draft still seeps through the cracks.
Yeah, and to replace those windows is expensive.
Oh God, yeah, that's a not my business project unless I have a lot of money to play with.
Yeah, my mom just did that to her. She has a 3-season room, and she replaced, because she just had storm windows there, and she just replaced them with regular windows, and that was just for those. There was 4 or 5 windows, and that was expensive. So doing your sun porch, your porch there would be a lot.
Yes, Juno. I know. I'm not paying attention to you. He's getting antsy sitting in this room with me.
Well, you were saying that it's too small. Now I have to move.
Yes, I know.
She's listening to you.
She's also doing the whole "you're not petting me, therefore I'm going to start scratching at your leg until you start petting me again" type of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's and I've been able to like fix little things here and there, and clean up a few things here and there. Mix Tiles is a great app, and they can take like pictures and make these little like 4x4 square or 6x6 square tiles, and with adhesive on them. Like almost like a Post-it note level of adhesive, so you can. And that's what I have. Those pictures on the wall of my dining room are all mixed tiles. Okay. So I got another half dozen of them and added some updated pictures of the kids and of me, and I put one of Juno up. I've got another one of Yumi and Tanya is now up on the friends section of the wall.
Nice.
That time that the 3 of us were all over to do Nerd World News, and we were all wearing our same Doctor Who hoodies.
Yep.
So I got that picture into a mixed tile and put that up, and
nice.
It can be a little expensive, so I don't do it all the time. It's been every couple of years I add a few to the wall.
Yeah.
But it's
But
nice. It's fun.
it makes it your place though. So
Exactly.
Exactly. You got to have you got to have your stuff in your space. So make it yours.
Yeah.
Make it comfortable.
So, been working on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the house ready for the next winter.
Yeah. I've been just trying to settle down, because I had my hopefully last surgery at the beginning of September.
Right.
Closed up my ileostomy, so reattached all my pipes.
Mm-hmm.
The first month was kind of painful, just because of things flowing through the channel haphazardly, and it was different all the time. But I think that's finally I'm not gonna say for sure, but it's definitely been a lot better.
Yeah, so, knocking on wood there for you.
I have it better under control right now. So I don't. I went to an all-day event outside. I went to a camp out. I've been to this since then, and I was concerned about that because of not knowing what to expect and everything. But it seems to be mostly under control now. So knock on wood. There's some wood around here somewhere. Knock on some wood here, and
it's knocked on the side of my head.
Thanks. So knock some. Yeah. So that's been good. So now that seems to be under control, I don't know. Just focusing on. We're going to Florida over Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we weren't sure, but we decided. We finally decided to, and I got some halfway decent airfares and found a halfway decent price rental car. Because we were looking at maybe taking the train down there, but the airfares came down enough to make it more viable to fly. So, and the kids weren't looking forward to a long car ride to the train station, which is in Virginia, because it was the auto train we were going to take. So we would have to take to drive to Virginia, get on the auto train, and a 16-hour train ride down to Florida. But we would have had our car with us. But the airline places came down enough where we could, so we're doing Southwest out of Buffalo, so. So it's not Rochester, but Buffalo is a lot cheaper and a direct flight. So, so we're doing that. So I'm getting ready for that. I'm still doing the half marathon at the end of the month, which is going to be interesting because I haven't run that much. But
yeah, I was going to say you've been out of practice on that.
So I'm just aiming to complete at this point. To complete it. This is usually when I do a full marathon, but I dropped it down to a half marathon, and this will be the first full in-person race I've done since 2 years ago, basically. Last in-person race it was the full marathon for this race.
I want you to know that in your honor, I will on that very day walk the 13 feet from my living room to the refrigerator and back.
That means a lot to me.
I'm telling you, and and I will be exhausted for the rest of the damn day. So that will wear me out.
So I think the race starts about 6:20. So if you can do it around 6:20 to be in solidarity with me,
I'm there for you.
Get up early, take a walk, and think that'll mean.
Or if I'm up to it, I might walk around the house 13 times.
Ooh, there you go.
13 laps around the house. That'll be a thing.
And this is episode 13 for us.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Look at that. Lucky number 13. That's impressive.
Yeah. So we're doing that coming up.
Okay.
So we're going down the Sunday before Thanksgiving, and we're coming back the Tuesday following Thanksgiving. So it'll be a little over a week. So that way the kids miss like 4 days of school because they have Wednesday off before Thanksgiving. So they'll miss the Monday, Tuesday before, and Monday, Tuesday afterwards. And
I turned Thanksgiving into a 6-day weekend, so I'm going to get that Thursday, Friday of Thanksgiving and Black Friday. But then I took the Monday and Tuesday off afterwards just because I'm like, nope, I need a couple days off.
Yeah, might as well do it.
That's the thing. I don't even know why, but I am so burned out on shit lately. I'm so fucking tired. And it's like more than ever before. I'm just exhausted. There's always so much stuff to do. And I always get overwhelmed and end up never doing it. Right? Like I finally get around to like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night when I finally get a chance to sit down and I look at the list of things I need to do. I need to fix this in the kitchen. I need to tweak this in my room. I need to clean this part of the basement or this part of the attic, or I need to work on this particular aspect of the show. Or, hey, I haven't podcasted with Monkey Business in a long time. We really probably should sit down and start working on that. And I end up turning on Minecraft and playing Minecraft until 11 o'clock, and then I go crash out. I mean, it's just because I'm just
Yeah.
so just done with things at the moment. Why? I don't. Why? I just. It's so weird to be that just want to be want the desire to be disconnected.
Well, it's the introvert part of you. You just
Yeah,
you just need, you know what, you need to shut down.
yeah.
You
And I
know,
haven't been able to completely ever shut down fully.
yes, Chris has a big introvert part of him.
Yeah, I know.
You wouldn't know that normally, but
It always floors people when I'm in conversation with them and we're talking about introvert, extrovert, shyness, and whatnot. And I tell people until like my junior year of high school, I was an ultimate wallflower. And even after, I mean, I was in the fall play junior year, and then I started getting a little more involved in the spring semester with theater and other folks. And then of course, then we became the dudes in our senior year, and all bets were off at that point. But I've always had that reticence to be involved a lot. There is a deep part of me that just sees that looks like fun. Sure, I'm just going to be over here minding my own damn business now. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that aspect has been like, why are you not hermiting? Why are you not a hermit? You need to be a hermit for a little while.
I think you have a strong aspect for both of it. There's definitely a part of you that wants to be the extrovert, but you still have the introvert there, and they're kind of warring with each other. And the introvert saying, "Give me some attention right now."
Yes. I think that's it. Is the introvert is trying to shout down the extrovert, which is really weird for the introvert to be shouting at anything. So it creates this weird imbalance. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if here I am, I'm in my little 10x10 home office. The door is closed. The dog is on my feet, and I'm just like, the dog is one living creature too many in the room right now. And she's laying on the floor like, why are you talking shit about me, dude?
Yeah. Well, I definitely relate. And there's stuff I want to do, and it's been all through the years. There's always stuff I wanted to do, and it's like, I really want to. Then it's like, I'm not going to do it. I really want to, and I'm not going to do it. And that's such the big fight. Yourself is like, I really want. I don't want to miss out on something, and I'm going to regret it later, but I'm not gonna do it. And then like the Billy Crystal show, that was one thing. It's like, I saw that, it's like, well, I really want to do it, but I shouldn't do it, but okay, I'm going to do it. So I definitely put my foot down for that. And I was thinking of going to they had the Grammy nominations the weekend, like the 30th, and I was like, well, and I almost did that too, to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to see the Grammy nominations.
Oh wow. Okay.
I mean, one of the reasons, besides the fact all the people that are there, but Taylor Swift was there, and she presented to Carole King her Grammy award, or not her Grammy, her Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there. So I wanted to be there for that and everything. But it was Halloween weekend, and the kids were there, and I was already being gone 2 nights before, and I was like, okay, so I felt a little more logical to not do that one, but it was the same kind of argument I've had for not doing other things in the past. I've wanted to do this, I wanted it, and I was like, I really do, and I really don't. And it's a big struggle inside you to not do the thing, even though you want to do the thing.
Yeah. Seriously, our mantra's always been do the thing, and then here I am. What happens when you reach the point where you don't want to do the thing at the more you really need to not do the thing?
There are, and I guess maybe you got to think of the reason for not doing the thing, and maybe it's, you need your sanity to shut down and just recover a little bit before you can do the thing and really enjoy the thing. Maybe. I mean, we're only human. We're not, we can't do everything, but
we can try.
And,
but it's at the same time, it's great.
But life is short, so we got to, still do that,
Let's not get into that philosophical discussion right now.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
There was another death that happened this past week. It was a suicide, and it was, and it was not surprising because there's other extenuating circumstances involved, but still, it's like, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring.
So, family member, associate?
I probably shouldn't get into it too much.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, the fact that we heard about it, and I mean, it's just, I met this person once, and we knew him a little bit, but you don't know what's going on in somebody's head. You don't, you have to look after yourself. You have to know yourself. You have to,
Mm-hmm.
um, but you also have to put yourself out there. You have to not let yourself be alone. You can't let yourself get so involved in yourself that you're not thinking of what else is going on in the world, because that's how
Yeah.
you lose yourself.
Well, it's a balancing act. It really is. It's putting yourself out, but not so far that you lose yourself. Being able to keep yourself, but be able to stay out there, and you're not completely withdrawn. And then for me, the problem is recognizing whose emotions are these right now.
Mm-hmm.
As a father, as a friend, as a social media person, a connection or whatever, an employee. I wonder sometimes, am I stressed out because I'm stressed, or am I stressed out because the person I'm talking to or thinking about is stressed out? Am I sad because this person is sad, or am I sad because something is genuinely upsetting me? Or am I angry because this is upsetting me, or am I angry because I'm feeling this power, um, this emanation from this person who I'm thinking about or associated with or dealing with at the moment? And so it's hard to, I mean, the new age folks, the more higher level thinkers than I am would go, well, you're an empath, you feel people's pain and whatnot. And to a point, I guess that all humans are capable of that. I also fancy myself having seen enough people and enough actions and emotions that I can read people's body language a little bit better than most. Not enough that I would have my own procedural crime drama on primetime TV.
Not yet.
The Body Reader. Well, there's a title. Shit, never mind. The Body Reader.
That can work in many different genres there.
Yes, I was saying that might be a better for some more questionable websites. But anyway, I feel like I can suss up something and look at somebody and say, oh, they're not happy, or hey, they're thinking about something, or hey, something's bothering them. And then being able to separate yourself from that and say, okay, no, what am I feeling? Is it genuinely me, or is it them? And am I taking on something that I shouldn't? And that is an emotional balancing act that is just, I don't think any humans are really truly equipped for anymore. Society's kind of prevented
some
that.
are less than others. I mean, I don't want to go immediately into politics, but the whole, cult of, if you know who.
Oh, yeah.
How many of those? How many of them have their own thoughts, or are they just living off each other's thoughts? Each other's emotions or someone else's emotions, and they're worked themselves up before they don't even know where this originated from. It's just more of, it becomes so ingrained in them. It's just they think it's theirs, but but that's kind of what cultism is, isn't it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You have checked your brain at the door. You've hung it up on the hook by the door, and you are letting somebody else do the thinking for you. So you are switching off, and you're giving that control over to somebody else, which I think is an extreme version of what I was describing. Like me, I'm not, I know I'm feeling that, and it's just learning to separate and figure out how to compartmentalize and kind of and understand and accept, where these folks have gone all in, and they're not worried about where the outside influence starts and they end. They just, no, you lead me. I'm just going to hook.
They have accepted it. Yeah.
Yeah, they've accepted. I'm going to hook my wagon to your horse, and I'm off and running, and I don't care where you take me.
Where we have to, most people should be stepping back and thinking about, okay, yeah, like you were saying, this, what's me, what's someone else, and how do I reconcile these two? What's the right answer for me? What's the big picture here? What really should be going on? And it's so easy to get lost, but if you're in an emotional situation, to get lost in the other person's emotions, even temporarily, that's, those crimes of passion type of thing, you get lost in something.
Yeah. And there's an additional layer of frustration. I don't know how many other people think this. I mean, maybe it's just me, but there's an additional level of frustration that in the back of my mind, I'm 51 years old now. I should know better. Haven't I been through enough
I'm
crap?
51 now too, am I?
Oh, yes, you are. Jeez, you're always 2 months right behind me there, sunshine. But and it's a falsehood. It really is a falsehood. I mean, there's no age where you should completely have your shit together. You should always be evolving and understanding and learning something new and looking forward, and and being accepting of the fact that you're going to make mistakes and you're going to see things, or you're going to have decades old perceptions challenged by new information, you should be in a position where you'd be like, okay, I learned something new, right? So me personally, I should not be in a position where, Jesus, I'm 51, I should have some of this shit figured out by now, right?
We're never going to know everything.
But that's not going to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the case. And it's just accepting that balance exists and trying to work towards it. Juno's, you got your
How
2
the
cents.
heck do we get to be 50 years old, Chris?
Well, time is a wonderful thing. It just does whatever the hell it wants to do and doesn't really pay attention to you.
50 years before we were born, it was the 1920s.
Yes. Yes. The roaring 20s, the era of prohibition and gangsters and
now we're as far beyond our birth date as yeah.
Yes.
That's just bizarre.
We're as far away from our birthdays as our birthday was far away from that era.
And what? Yeah. And
how the 80s, Dan, were 40 years ago.
Jeez.
The 80s, the decade that defined the foundation of what we were going to be, the decade that brought us together. It's 40 years ago.
It's bizarre.
It's crazy.
It is.
Do you want to know something? Here's another one. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Just the other day, my daughter turned 20 years old.
I saw that.
My daughter is 20. My son is 18.
Crazy. How the heck? She's no longer a teenager.
I know. I lost a teenager somewhere along the line. I used to have 2. I had 2 for a very long time, and now I only have 1 more.
Jeez.
That's it. Isn't that nuts?
It's crazy. I got another year and a couple months before I get a teenager.
Yeah. See.
And then before you know it, yeah.
And then before you know it, Zach will be 20.
Oh, jeez.
How old were you when he was born?
Gosh, what year was he born?
39, 40?
39. He's born in 2010.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that January where Scott had his son and then you had your son. And then my niece had her daughter like a week later. So 3 children entered the family at within a couple of weeks of each other.
Yeah. So I started late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did. I thought I had it 31, but you were like 39.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah. So it's time is a bizarre thing. I mean, just looking back, when you're young, it seems so long. When you're older, it's like, well, where did everything go?
Yeah. Here's a little nod for my Critical Role fans out there. Time is a weird soup. That makes no sense to anybody who has not seen that particular thing, but that's okay. That's fine. Okay. That's my little nod to my tip of the nose to my friends out there who also follow that. Oh my God! And it's just gonna keep going, and then eventually it's going to go on without us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a weird feeling too.
We are just a blip in history.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been a lot of change in the last 50 years.
Well, if you think about it, every generation goes through it somewhere along the line.
Well, I think since our country was, in the last 100
our grandparents
years,
had World War II.
150 years, I think would you say 150 years is probably a lot of change compressed in there?
There's been some seismic shifts going on in human history. Mm-hmm. Like our grandparents had World War II.
Yep.
Our parents, for the most part, and for you and me, our parents had, Woodstock and the Vietnam War, the protests and everything there. So there's a sociological thing there. In the 80s, we had that generation dealt with a lot of sociological issues, HIV and greed and Wall Street taking over and things like that. And now we're dealing with how politics has become so toxic and has affected all of society and in its own way spilled out across the world. Mm-hmm. But then along the way, technology has leaps and bounds gone ahead and forward.
Technology is crazy
Well, technology is that which is the catalyst for society, essentially. Think about it. The Industrial Revolution changed everything in the 1800s. It changed how we looked at the world, how everybody looked at the world, and then created the 20th century in its own way. And then the 20th century had its technological advancements that led to the 21st.
Yeah.
What are we going to have in the 21st that is going to change the 22nd century, and so on and so forth.
Wish I could see it.
Yeah, I
I mean,
know.
I mean, a lot of this change is exciting. I mean, there's bad parts of it, of everything, because people are, like this. A lot of the aspects of social media are bad because some of this stuff just, it spreads like wildfire, even when people don't, it's just like bits and pieces of it spread. It's just the pieces you
Yes.
want to hear spread.
Yeah.
So, and
People are really good at finding their
yeah,
quote unquote research, which is
mm,
basically just validation of their shitty opinion.
and it spreads like wildfire.
Yep.
I mean, which is the bad part of it. I mean, the good part of it that is that we can have this, we can record this podcast, and we're not in the same room, we're not in the same town, and we can do this kind of stuff. We can keep in touch. We can keep in touch with our friends without being physically seeing them, which was made this pandemic survivable, or made this
Hmm.
pandemic this whole stay at home stuff possible. Which is
Yes.
good and bad. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's good and bad to everything. There's always a flip side to every coin.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yin yang. The
Hmm.
Chinese had it right with the yin yang. There's a
Yeah.
there's a balance throughout all of life and all of existence.
Hmm.
And right now, we're out of balance.
We are
You
so out of
know,
balance. I'm so scared.
I am a little nervous. I am a little
Hmm.
nervous. I would like to see 100. That'd be nice. I have
Hmm.
a 120-year plan for my existence. I know I'm cut down, the decisions and things that have happened to me, the stress levels and whatnot. My health will not allow me to get to 120 anymore, I don't think. Better living through chemistry, you never know. But,
You never know.
there's just so much going on. And it's, instead of getting on board and everybody working together to make things better, there is a substantial section of the country, and I'm sure laced throughout the world, where people are actually actively fighting against progress.
Hmm. Going backwards.
And I can't understand why. I can't understand what they're hoping to preserve.
Hope and preserve their narrative. I mean, why? I mean, I was watching, I was watching stuff about the New York gun law, the concealed carry case for New York and the Supreme
Hmm.
Court, and they're going back to like the 1300s to try to figure out the original intention of the Second Amendment for this. I mean, like, we're not living in the 1300s. We're not living in the 1700s.
No.
This is the 2100s, 22,000s. Boy, I'm moving ahead in time. We're in 2100 already.
Oh
Um,
God, yeah, that'd be nice.
we're in the
Do they have
2000s now.
sandwiches there? Anyway.
Very good sandwiches. The pizza. But why do we need to look into the past to see what we should be doing going forward?
Hmm.
Why? I mean, this is what I don't. This is where I think that our problem with our constitution, our country is, that it's not evolving enough. There,
And the
there,
Constitution was programmed to evolve, and
there's parts of
somehow a
it that
lot of
are
us have
involving.
forgotten that.
Yeah, parts of it are evolving, but other
Yeah.
parts they're trying to, the parts they want to keep in the past, like the gun laws.
Hmm.
Because we don't need to have. We don't need to be carrying concealed weapons. The society should not be that. I will feel less safe if I know that anybody could be carrying a gun,
Yes.
because I do not know these guns. It's these people, and I don't know, especially if they don't, if they're reduced, have to reduce the requirements to be able to carry, and I don't know the
Mhm.
mindset of these people. I will feel less safe in the world where that is.
I got into a gun debate a couple of years ago on Facebook, of course, because that's the best place for it, right?
Yeah.
But this one person who we both know from our way back days, his quote was, "A well-armed society is a polite society." And he did not see just how absolutely frightening that thought was. Just chilling. I'm like,
Yeah.
are you serious? Are you absolutely serious that you just said that in all sincerity?
Hmm.
I was like, you have
But
got to be kidding me. There's
that's
people out there
probably
who want
that.
this to be the old west. Everybody should be strapping you.
Hmm.
They want to see their 6-year-old go to kindergarten with a gun in their backpack. I guess I know that's an extremist viewpoint, but still,
But I mean, where does it stop? I mean,
yeah. That's the thing. Nobody's been able to answer that question. Where does it stop? When's it enough? And the pro gun folks can never answer that question appropriately.
hmm it's about. I mean, power. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand it. I mean, I didn't grow up with guns. I mean, my dad
I
had
didn't
like a
either.
BB rifle and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but I didn't really, you know, besides shooting. I don't really see the thing about guns. I was never a hunter. There's my grandfather was a hunter, but I
Hmm.
didn't, I mean, but I don't get the allure of guns. I don't get, why we need them in today's society.
Yeah. I mean, I respect. I will say this outright. I respect that in the deep rural and less civilized to the point where it's almost purely wild areas where people have chosen to make their homes are like, say, and I'm going to use West Virginia as an example. Deep in West Virginia, where there's no cities, there's no true quote unquote civilization. You've got these families that are out there. They've got their cabin, their wood, living off the land, and they need that weapon to protect themselves against predators
Hmm.
essentially, and they hunt to put
Hmm.
food on the table.
Yeah.
I respect that. That's a
Hmm.
good reason as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You know, the occasional sport hunter, I understand. Because especially because sport hunting actually helps control population in
Hmm.
more civilized areas. I get that. Okay. But and then because of this day and age, if you have a weapon in the house for the purposes of defending your home, I understand and respect that. I get that. Those are examples where am able to compromise and say I
Hmm.
get that.
Hmm.
But the moment you feel the need to take that weapon out of the home
Hmm.
and just walk around in civilization with it,
I need my gun to go grocery shopping.
yeah, like
I,
there's the images of the guy with the AR-15 draped over his shoulder while he's grocery shopping. Really?
yeah. I mean, is the West grocery store that dangerous?
You know?
I I don't.
And simple things. And it's interesting to me how the pro gun folks talk themselves into the point that we try to make, but still miss the point.
Hmm.
Like the whole licensing and registration and insurance. Like, well, next thing you know, we're going to do this and this and this. And I said, yeah, it's called the DMV. For your car, we're asking for the same thing for
Hmm.
your. You have no problem with that.
Yeah, but
You know?
and I kind of talked about it this week. But the problem is, it's in the Constitution. We have the right to bear arms.
Yeah. Or the right to
And
arm
that's
bears, as Robin Williams said.
yeah. I mean, what I think, I'll say this again. I think that's one of the biggest problems of the Constitution, that it was in the Constitution, and you would say maybe if they had worded it differently, then maybe that would
More specifically, clarified it instead of leaving it to interpretation.
right. But it was a much different time back in the 1700s.
Hmm.
It was
They did not anticipate the modern technology of the 21st century. I
right.
guarantee you they could not think far enough in advance to anticipate the internet, social media,
Just the
cars,
Industrial
guns.
Revolution. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that was
they couldn't see any of that.
right. So it was.
The atomic fucking bomb.
Jeez, I
You
would have
know.
never thought of that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's a much different time, and we shouldn't be interpreting these laws like it's still that time.
Right.
The Constitution should be. It needs to evolve more, but they're especially for this one, this Second Amendment, they're bound and determined to keep it as far in the past as possible.
Hmm.
And so it's bizarre.
It
In
really is. It very much is.
Yeah.
There's so much I don't get. And it's funny to me that the pat response of those opposed to my views will be like, just because you're stupid.
Well, yeah.
You know what? No shade or no petting myself on the shoulder too hard. But here's the thing: I'm smarter than most of the people I end up arguing with. I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I will never say abolish all guns, but there should be better gun controls. You don't need those, AR-15s.
Hmm.
You don't need those for home anything. There should be, national gun registries. There should
Yeah.
be, there should be, background checks. Just like at least as much as for driving a car. I mean, a car can be a weapon.
Yep.
And you have to have a license to drive a car. You ran into people, so you should have the same kind of sanity checks for a gun, at least.
Yep.
And
And that's the
so
thing: basic background checks, which at one point was polling at 95% popularity among the country,
mhm.
and a very large portion of Congress
are,
said no.
are funded by the NRA. So
Yep. Yep.
it's It gets back into having our term limits for Congress and doing this
Yeah,
and
which
that,
we've had that
and
discussion.
we need a younger Senate and this and that, and it's we got so many problems and everything, but
The system was built for the people to have the power,
mm-hmm,
and those who wanted the power had the resources to change that.
mm-hmm,
Because we do not live in a democracy. We do not live in a republic. We live in
no,
an oligarchy.
mm-hmm,
At the moment, the United States of America, at this time of its history, is an oligarchy, because if the rich want it to happen, it's going to happen. And if the poor want it to happen, it won't.
mm-hmm. I so I didn't read a lot about the quote unquote billionaires tax,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought it was funny how was it Musk or whoever said that. Well, I'm gonna have to pay this money, this much more billions in taxes if this passes. I'm like, so
Oh, darn.
you have how much money?
Yeah.
It's like well, he's what? How much is he worth? Like 300 billion now at this
Something like
point.
300 billion at the moment. Yeah.
So
So
if you had to pay 10 billion more a year in taxes,
is that going
you
to
could,
hurt you? Is that
no,
really going to hurt you?
it's like I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought that was the worst comment to make.
That was one of those things where it's like you're proving the point for us and not seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to pay 100 billion in taxes, well, I might feel a little sympathy for you, but you still have $200 billion.
Yeah.
10 billion, and when you're worth 300 billion, 10 billion in taxes for, when the majority of the American people would never even see anywhere near that amount.
Right.
So it's yeah. I thought that was.
Whereas I found an extra $600 in my checking account, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I almost cried because I was so happy to know that I could actually afford proper groceries this week.
Yeah, and that's and do they not? I don't know how these people with these crazy amount of money, they.
What do they need? What do they need?
Why do you need to be worth $300 billion? I mean, lots of it's in their stock of the companies, but it's why should one person need that much wealth? And there's going to be problems.
Jeff Bezos was designing a house. I can't remember. Is it outside of Chicago? It had 3 movie theaters in it. How do you watch 3 movies at the same time in 3 different rooms?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, what is the point, dude?
Yeah, I mean,
as a building inspector, I'm in people's homes all the time. I say this often.
Mm-hmm.
And I see these people who they've lived in this particular apartment for a year. I'm going to think of this one particular apartment. I won't say where it is.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 2-bedroom apartment. They've lived in it for a year. They had a table in the kitchen. They had a futon in the living room. And they all slept on 20-year-old sleeping bags. They've lived in the apartment for a year. They could barely keep the heat on. They had almost no furniture and a handful of clothing hanging in the closet. Okay, and that's how they've lived for a year. Okay, and I'm seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, oh, they're on this assistance and they're mooching off the system. Okay, you know what? There are folks who abuse the system. Mm-hmm. I concede that right now, and I've seen it, right? But then there are folks who are on the quote-unquote system because they are desperately in need of it. The one parent in the house was working 3 jobs. The other parent in the house was either making sure that the 2 kids were taken care of, they were at school or at home safe, or having a job themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the gender roles, by the way, in that equation were not what you would expect. So take that for what you with, and to call it Spartan living would have been insulting.
Mm.
And so when I hear somebody who is opposite side of the fence from me, well, you can't tax your way to prosperity. I'm not talking about prosperity, you moron. I'm not saying taxing people to prosperity. I'm talking democratic socialism says you can be rich. Sure, go ahead and be rich, but nobody should be poor.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to help folks get to a basic level, and then from there, give them the foundation so they can build themselves.
And how freaking rich do you need to be?
How? As long as I've got mine, right? That's what they want. As long as I've got mine, I don't give a shit about the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. Shame on you for being so freaking shallow. I would love to
$300
have
billion.
I would love to have mine, right?
Mhm.
I would like to have mine, and and I'll tell you what. I was on Burr Street for 6 years. I've been here for 3, so I'd say the past 10 years have been very humbling because
Mhm.
I used to have the grand plans. I'd love to have the huge house, and the the nicer car and whatnot. Make sure the kids were all set and they could do whatever they wanted to do whenever they wanted to do. I'd love to have all of that,
Mhm.
and in the past 10 years, I've learned that there's what you want and what you need,
Mhm.
and I'm happy with what I have. I've worked very hard to get where I am right now, and I've gotten a lot of help from a
Mhm.
lot of different places. My mother,
Mhm.
and I've had some luck come my way in work. I've had my friends that have been very good to me, and have helped me when I've needed it. So you learn to appreciate that, and you don't need more than what you have unless you have nothing.
Right. If
You know,
if again, you have enough to put a roof over your head, you can, hopefully have a little bit extra to put away
I don't,
for a
but I'm
rainy
working on it.
day, or yeah, but you're able to eat, you're not skipping meals,
Right. Which
and
I've done. I've
hmm
had to do.
yeah.
There was a point where things were so bad. I can't remember. I think I told this story once before. I think I mentioned it to Tanya. I don't remember. But there was a time when Erica was out of town. I can't remember. It was to visit family because there was an illness or something. I can't remember. She was out of town for a very legitimate and real reason. But she left me at home with the kids. Fine, no big deal. But things were very tight. And I remember I had nothing in the fridge, nothing. I had nothing in the bank that particular day. And I knew we were getting on towards dinner time, and I had no idea what to do left. And I'm hunting through all of my resources at that point. And pride got in the way. I couldn't just reach out to, hey, mom, can we come over for dinner and visit or something like. I know my
hmm
mom would have invited us over,
hmm
but I didn't. I was so prideful
hmm
that I couldn't get past that. And the solution, you know what I did? I had a Target credit card at that time, and it had a little bit of room left on it. And what did my ass do? I went to Target and I bought a gift card for Buffalo Wild Wings so I could take the kids to Buffalo Wild Wings. Just so we could all have a night out. The
hmm
kids didn't have to be aware of just how bad things had gotten.
hmm
They were clueless. Thank God.
Yeah.
Someday I might tell them the story just as kind of an object lesson. Don't have that level of pride ever.
hmm
If you need the help, come to dad, go to mom, go to grandma,
hmm
and say, hey, look, I need a hand. But that's the level it had gotten to,
hmm
where I was like, I am so screwed right now that I'm actually going to use a credit card to buy a gift card just so I can feed the kids tonight. Because tomorrow was going to be payday.
Yeah.
Just get me to that line.
hmm
And I still think about it, and there are days I think about that story, and I pat myself on the shoulder for my ingenuity, and then there are days where I'm like, wow, that's a lesson to really just take the pride and put it away. And sometimes you have to ask for help. But then it all fits in of, why are we in a society where people have to make those kind of decisions? Because I know there are folks out there who have been in worse places than me in
hmm
that spot, and I would love to be able to help these folks, and I can't because I'm living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, and there's a lot of wealth in our country, but it's
Mm-hmm.
with these few people.
Yep.
And why do they need this wealth?
Because power begets power.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's that age-old phrase. We've heard it several times.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see that Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, they could give away 95% of their wealth right now
mm-hmm.
and still have plenty for generations of their bloodline to come.
Yeah.
And somehow or another, it doesn't calculate for them. It doesn't fit in the big picture. You guys, you wanted capitalism. That's great. Congratulations. Here's the t-shirt. Here's your trophy. You wanted capitalism. But at what cost?
You're taking down a country here. Mm-hmm.
At what cost? And it's not just the two of them that are guilty of it. There are several people out there who have had a hand in it. And Mitch McConnell's one of them. What a useless piece of shit that man is. And I'm sorry, but you know what? Chuck Schumer, he's on the right side of the political fence for me to a point. He's on the Democratic team, but he's got no goddamn spine.
He needs
no spine whatsoever.
We need the Senate needs a whole overhaul.
Everything needs a whole.
But but the trouble is, the power, because they would have to vote for it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to vote most of them would not vote for, reducing their power type of thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Vote
People who
themselves
have
term
power
limits.
very rarely do people who have power will ever give it up willingly.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's one story, and that was in ancient Roman times where a veteran of the Senate, he was a gentleman farmer, he had been elevated to the position of Caesar through a crisis. He didn't want it, but he did the job because that's what his country asked of him.
Mm-hmm.
He performed the tasks of Caesar, and then when everything was done, he gave the power back to the Senate and said, "Leave me alone, I'm going back to my farm." That is probably one story in history where somebody willingly gave up absolute power for the good of everybody.
Washington kind of did.
Washington kind of did by the fact that he set the 2-term limit.
Mm-hmm.
It was an unwritten rule at that point. He's like, nope, I'm not going to run for re-election again. I'm done.
Yeah. So it was kind of, but I mean, he did.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he could have stayed in power longer because he was at that time.
He's the only president that was ever elected in unanimously in the Electoral College.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody voted for him. They're like, nope, we love you.
Yeah.
But
yeah, how often does that happen these days?
Yeah. And I guarantee you right now that if we had somebody like that right now, one single person, male, female, other, it doesn't matter,
mm-hmm.
had ability and that genuine piece of heart where they're like, I have this power, I'm going to do the best I can for the society, and then I'm going to willingly give it up when my job is done. That person would be so overwhelmed by those who are like, no, you can't have our power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's only one person with everybody else fighting the system.
And if you have that one person in every 1,000 of years, then guess what? We're not due to have that person
mm-hmm.
for a long time to come.
Yeah, the trouble is our system.
Crazy.
They talked about term limits or age limits on Supreme Court justices. There's talked about term limits for our Senate and Congress.
Mm-hmm.
the House.
But as I've said on several occasions, you can do all the term limits you want, but you got to get the money out of the
mm-hmm.
equation first.
Yeah.
Because the people who pay for these politicians will just buy new ones every time
mm-hmm.
the other one runs out. Oh, this one's running out. This one's expired.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, give me another one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's campaign finance and
mm-hmm.
and political finance reform first. And as we have talked about in the past half hour or so, nobody wants to give up their money that willingly.
Nope. Because how many of these guys are richer than when they went into office on their $140,000 or whatever year salary?
Every single one of them.
I mean,
even the ones we like
mm-hmm.
have more money than they know what to do with at this point.
And how are they making all this money on this salary? Hello, people. I mean, for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
all parties, all house, whatever.
You need a handful of just uncorruptible folks. And they don't have to be liberal and they don't have to be conservative. It would be great to have a mix.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be great to have a mix of uncorruptible folks of varying different opinions
mm-hmm.
who can talk about issues and come to proper and real compromise and do what's right for society. And when all of the influences come for these people and say, hey, you really want to espouse what we want to do, and this entire group and a handful can look at them and go, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
We're busy here. We're trying to fix things. And they can argue about what's right. They can argue laws for the real reasons, for genuine things. So no, I don't want a completely liberal society. I don't want a completely conservative society. I want a balanced one.
But one that can talk to each other.
One that can talk to each other and learn from each other. And understand the greater good means the greater good for everybody, all 350 million people in the country, and how we affect the world around us,
mm-hmm.
rather than just 100 people here and 1,000 people over here.
We are only 350 million people. China has 1 billion more people than we do.
Mm-hmm.
India has about 1 billion more people than we do. We're a small country,
mm-hmm.
population-wise. So if we don't pull ourselves together, we're gonna, especially to China, we're gonna lose.
Yeah, we are.
And we're gonna, who knows what the world might look like? China becomes the number one power
mm-hmm.
with the way they're run, but they're
mm-hmm.
but they're generally, at least their government is agreed on a course, so it's moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be the direction that we like necessarily all the time, but it is a, from what we can see, it's a generally united. The government has one direction it's going in.
We are a joke to the rest of the world. We
At this
really are right
point,
now.
yeah.
We are a complete joke to the rest of the world.
Mhm.
I have my friend in Australia. He's like, I got a guest room down here. You and the kids can come stay with me if you want to move to Australia. And I'm like, no, you have spiders the size of a greyhound. I'm not coming down there.
That's a deal breaker for Chris.
When he's telling me years ago, he told us the story about how his girlfriend, his then girlfriend, his now wife, their dog had died, and we're like, what happened? Spider got it.
Spider got
Was
the
it was it a spider bite? No, a spider carried it off into the woods and ate it. I'm like, okay,
Oh, jeez.
no, not going to Australia. Love Australians, I really do. I love Australians. I love their vibe. I love their culture.
I want to visit, but I
I
don't
would
know.
love to visit, but I want to visit in an area where they can tell me that there's going to be a small army protecting me from the spiders the size of a Yugo. You know,
Oh,
it's it. I'm not doing this.
Chris would not survive that trip.
No, I would not.
See one,
You would not get me off the damn airplane.
your heart would just stop. I'm laughing, but oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Oh.
You know, I have friends who are in England that are like, you can come live with us, and I'm like, you know,
England has its problems, but not as. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, no. Yeah, but I right now I think our problems are. They're just going to get worse for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know when the turning point is when they'll get better at all, but they're
history is resplendent with turning points. The Dark Ages did give way to the Renaissance.
Eventually.
You know, I mean, it took a long time for it to happen, but it happened.
Right.
And so that's why I don't leave, is because this is my home. This is where my roots are. This is where my family is. This is where my bloodline is.
There's hope and possibility. It's just
there always is. You just got to hang on to it. It's just exhausting.
How long will we get sanity back in this country?
It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be. We're going to go through another dark period. I can guarantee we're going to go through another dark period because I don't see politics changing anytime soon. It's just a big old freaking rapidly swinging pendulum at the moment. And I fear who's next.
Yeah, because, I mean, signs lead to, I mean, who knows what next year's elections could bring.
Yeah.
You know, so Democrats won by our very narrow.
And they had an opportunity and they have already blown it.
Mm-hmm.
They have already blown it.
Yeah.
So
it's.
They could have done so much more, but they wanted to play nice. And unfortunately, you're not in a spot where you could play nice. You had to come out of the corner swinging. You had to beat them into submission, and that you're not going to. If you're going to be like, oh, we know you guys hate us, and we know you guys are going to do everything you can to undercut us, but we want to work with you. Wrong attitude. You had to come out swinging. So, okay, now we're going to put you in your place, and you're going to learn to get out from under all this bullshit that you've been hiding under.
The Republicans know how to get under people's skin and how to motivate them to do what they want them to do.
Because fear and anger are much more powerful tools than hope. Much more powerful. I can do more with fear and anger than I can with hope any day of the week.
Which is sad.
I can work on somebody. I can convince them over and over again why hope is good to cling to, and the demons are going to still be in the back of their head, shouting me down.
What if?
You know,
if this person gets empowered, this is what's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, they're going to come for your guns. Okay. Can you point to how many times in the past 200 years where the government has actually showed up at your door and said, "Give me the gun"? Oh, you can't, because it has never happened.
But it doesn't matter. They're going to do it this time.
Yep.
Because I'm saying so.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Scared. It's going to be some dark times ahead.
Yep. We're going to have to fight the good fight. And we're not even going to be able to fight it for ourselves. We're fighting it for our kids and our eventual grandkids. You know, I want to make the better. And that's another thing. A lot of these folks are only thinking about themselves. And whatever happens after they're gone doesn't matter, because they'll be gone. They don't care.
Right.
You know, I heard I think it was from a scene from a TV show, but I did look into it, and it's based on a very real philosophy. Native Americans have a seven generation philosophy. They are always thinking about what's going to be best for their tribe 7 generations from now. You know, how is this going to affect the life of our people? How is this going to affect our history? How is this going to affect our world, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and so on? Are we making sure that the world will still be good for our family long after we're gone.
Okay, so here's a challenge to you, Chris.
Challenge me.
Can we find some Native Americans that still have this philosophy, and can we talk to them?
I'd be happy to make that. I'll try to look for that. Absolutely.
Do we know anyone who still has enough of their history that, I mean, can we bring this back?
You and I know a lot of people who are, well, I'm part Native American. Well, I'm part Native. I hear that a lot, and that's fundamentally feasible because Native Americans have been here so long on this continent, right? And they've established themselves a long time ago. We are in a very, in our city in Rochester, we are in the heartland of what used to be a very strong Native American presence, right? The Seneca nations and all of the nations that were around them. Okay. But do I know anybody who's genuinely Native American? I don't at the moment, but I'd be happy to make some acquaintances. I want to learn from these people because
I'd like to explore that philosophy right there. I mean, I think that I don't think I've heard that before, but I mean, that is, I mean, I always try to think about the big picture, the future, but I've never heard it in those kind of words before.
Yeah.
What's the next generation? What's best? And I like that. I think this should be, there should be a wandering dude thing there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
There's
a phrase out there I've heard often: a wise man is the man who plants a tree that knows he will never sit in the shade of it. It's kind of the same philosophy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You're planting something that other people will benefit from.
You're planning for the future.
Yep.
The whole climate change thing, whether we cause it or not, what can we do to make it better? We might not see the results for a long time, but what can we do right now to potentially help the future? Whether or not we cause it, let's not get into who's causing it, but will this stuff help? But yeah.
I will start searching some boards and some websites, and I'll see if maybe there's somebody in the area who we can make an acquaintance of and talk to.
I'm just kind of curious to kind of talk a little bit more about that, and if we can kind of, use that, adapt that, or kind of put it into our wandering dude philosophy there.
I love it. I love that notion.
But get it more from the source versus just trying to be an interesting conversation with somebody.
Yeah, I think it'd be a fantastic conversation, a great lesson to learn. Because we have this colloquial impression of what Native Americans are like. What we're taught by mainstream media, by TV, by movies, by whatever sources we have. They're all just impoverished alcoholics on a reservation. But that's such a terrible.
That's not what they were. And
that's not what they were, and it's really not what they are in a lot of cases.
Right.
And honestly, and this ranks under the whole "if I were president" thing. I would be doing a lot more to reach out and rebuild those bridges between these communities and between these nations, ours and theirs, because we can learn so much from the philosophy that they built on. There's so much, there's so many philosophies out there across all these different ethnicities. I'm trying to train myself, by the way. I no longer want to say all these different races.
Right. So we're all the same race.
We are human beings. We are Homo sapien. We are a single race. It is broken up into ethnicities, right? Yes. Italian, German, European, Germanic, Asian, Native American, First Nation, however you want to describe that. Those are ethnicities, not races. Yep. Right. We are all human beings, and it's time we start learning that shit.
We're all Homo sapiens, and we can interbreed. We're all one race.
We'll be stronger. I'll leave you with this thought. Pure breed dogs that are purely Irish Setter, purely, German Shepherd, they all have flaws. They all have flaws. They all have some sort of deficiency that will be the undoing of that particular breed. The strongest and healthiest dogs, the ones that live the longest, typically are the mutts. Because they have all the best qualities, a little bit of everything.
Because you hear about this breed has typical tends to do this. This breed tends to do this.
Yeah. Winston, my English Springer Spaniel, hip dysplasia, right? And then magnify that with the fact that we got the brood of the litter, right? A
little bigger than you planned.
A little bigger than it was like a small Saint Bernard, but then that magnified the problem.
Yeah.
I know of other dogs that have they get these tumors. The pure, I can't remember. I think it's boxers. I can't remember.
But the purebreds,
the purebreds they're wonderful, and they're wonderful animals, and they have all these great characteristics, but the healthiest, the low maintenance dogs, the ones that live usually the longest, are the freaking
The
mutts.
mutts. Yep.
You know,
And dogs don't care if they're, oh, you're a this.
a dog does not care. It does not
Mhm.
care.
It just
It's
knows
a
that they're a
product of
dog.
its. Yep, it's
Mhm.
a product of its love and its training.
Yep.
You know, or lack thereof in a lot of
We
cases.
should learn
Unfortunately,
more from dogs.
we really should.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, we could.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good conversation for the day, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I like where we ended with this. Look
It's
for the future. I mean, that's part of being a parent. You're looking, what's my kid's future going to be like? What's it,
Yep.
how can I make this a better place for their future?
Well, what are we doing? 13 episodes in. Every episode we get into these conversations where we think about how can we make things better around us. We want to make things better for people,
Hmm.
not just us.
Right.
I mean,
Everybody.
making life better for us is kind of a byproduct of it, obviously.
By making, yeah, I mean, we're
But
part of the
making things
people.
better for people,
Yeah.
and then people make things better for society. Society makes things
Mhm.
better for the world. The world can keep spinning,
Hmm.
and then generations down the road, our great grandkids can listen to these podcasts and go, "Wow, our great grandfathers were funny as hell. They were dumb, but they were funny," you know. But look what they are able to teach people. Things that were like, hopefully, our generations down the road, people can look back at us and be like, "Oh, is that where it started?" You know?
That would be amazing right there. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that more than power, more than wealth or anything, just to be able to start have a movement that's hopefully makes a better world.
I would love it if a couple hundred years down the road, some poor college student finds our podcast and listens to us and be like, "Wow, they were just so limited in their thinking."
That's where the church started. Church of
You know,
the
but wouldn't it be great to know about all of this openness and foundational stuff?
Hmm.
To be told, in the long run, we were limited in our thinking, and it could be so much more expansive. And here's how we built on that, and this is how
Mhm.
much better it became because of that.
Yeah.
That would be amazing to be told how limited our thinking was, because we were able to do so much more and so much better for everybody. On
Hmm.
top of that, that would be a
Yeah.
wonderful thing to
Yeah.
learn. So let's leave it
Yeah.
on that one.
Definitely. I mean, yeah. So everyone, think of the future. Think of what comes next.
You know,
Just think of everybody.
hey Dan,
Hey, Chris,
don't be a dick.
don't be a dick.
And hey Dan,
Yes, Chris.
do the thing.
Do the thing. Do the thing. Don't be a dick.
There you go.
Simple messages, everybody.
Yep.
And with that,
We will say adieu for now.
adieu for now.
We'll check you later.